The year is finally over. Thank God. 2023 has been one of the worst years in mainstream film ever, and not just critically, but financially too. Disney released 13 films in theaters in 2023 and only one made a profit. Warner Bros. Is in the same boat with only Barbie making them a profit this year. Jury's still out on Wonka, but that's not looking too hot right now. So let's take a look back at all the films I saw this year and rank them to see who will be crowned as the best and worst films of 2023. Here's your chance to hear my opinions on a few movies I didn't do reviews on. I apologize, but if I didn't see it, it's not appearing on this list. At the end of the ceremony, we'll be handing awards to our winners and letting them have a few words. So let's get this started. Honorable mention goes to Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I adored this movie. The characters were fantastic, the themes were coherent, the villains were top-notch. But unfortunately, I can't officially place it in the ranking due to its release in 2022. I saw it in January at the tail end of its theatrical run, so I wanted to give it some form of credit. Avatar: The Way of Water sucked more than the first Avatar, and that ain't saying much. It's an overly long, overindulgent, and overly sentimental movie. I like to sum up the first movie as the movie about the blue monkey people crying about the trees. And I went into this film thinking this is going to be about the blue monkey people crying about the water. And I was kind of wrong, actually. It ended up being the movie about the blue monkey people crying about the water and the animals. The villain is just a blue monkey person version of the main bad guy from the first movie, and the logic behind his revival is fucking dumb. Neytiri also sliced this kid's chest. The movie just acts like it didn't happen, and Neytiri is almost instantly absolved of her actions because she lost a child. So she's going to threaten to take away someone else's child, and the movie views her actions as moral, I guess. This movie is staying off the list because it was released in 2022. You lucky son of a bitch. As I stated in my FNAF review, this film shares the same problem. There is a lack of promise of premise. I'll play the clip of what I said in that review. Promise of premise is the part of the movie that the trailer sold you on. The part where the Transformers start beating the shit out of each other in the 2007 movie. The part where Mia has her makeover and learns the etiquette of being a princess in The Princess Diaries. And the part of a Goofy movie where Max and Goofy go on the road trip and get into hijinks. Both Megan and FNAF sell you the idea of killer robots hunting the main characters down, but when you actually sit your American-sized ass down in the theater and start chomping on your $30 popcorn and candy, you quickly begin to feel like the movie is wasting your time. The characters aren't really developed enough because the film is focusing on building tension with Megan when we all know that Megan is fucking evil. We're just waiting on the film to catch up with the audience. And when Megan finally turns evil, the toned-down PG-13 violence really doesn't instill the level of fear needed to make us afraid of Megan. We need to see what her actions do to the human body. We've got to see some imagery that stays with us, scars us, makes us afraid to sit in silence in fear of hearing some spooky shit. An example is from the film Gravity. The main menace of the film is this orbiting debris that threatens the lives of the characters. In an establishing moment, we see what the debris will do to the characters if it hits them. To this day, this shot is the primary thing I remember about this film. But back to Megan, I'm putting this in C tier, because it at least attempts to be thrilling and scary, unlike another movie we're going to be talking about. Quantumania was amazing. Amazing because of how badly they butchered so many things in a single film. How do you take the adorable kid that Cassie was and make her into the epitome of bitch-assery? How did you make a film that was a complete affront to the character of Janet from the previous movie? This movie pretends as if Janet wasn't the motherfucker who helped the family go into the quantum realm in the first place. Also, we get these unnecessary details about how she poom-poomed with Bill Murray and how she had needs. Please stop. If I wanted to hear about this, I'd just go into the GILF category on the hub. I'm not going to retread previous videos, but Kang is a joke of a villain. He's a menace when characters talk about him, but his actions prove otherwise. MODOK was a mistake, plain and simple. And Scott is just done dirty in this film by his own daughter. Hank is a bumbling cuck and should have been put out of his misery by Kang in a blaze of glory. The Quantum Realm is also painfully boring and uninspired. It looks like rejected concept art from the Guardians trilogy and some of the Disney Star Wars shit. The way the Quantum Realm looked in the second Ant-Man film looked way cooler and more inspired. The only saving grace of this movie is that it is a fun pastime to talk about how bad Kang was in this film. Every once in a while, me and my friends would just talk about how bad Kang was and how Marvel could have done it better. At the end of the day, Quantumania goes into F tier. I had such high hopes for you. You were literally meant to be the follow-up to the best live-action Transformers film, and all you managed to be was mid. Rise of the Beast is a convoluted mess that, much like another film we'll be talking about today, has most of its runtime sitting on the cutting room floor. Explanations for dialogue, character motivations, and development and backstory all cut out to appease some bigwig producer. It's all because of Lorenzo de Bonaventura's boneheaded and stubborn need to keep this film connected to the original 2007 Michael Bay films, when they obviously aren't. The fact that Unicron is not Earth in this film seals the deal on that. As much as this frustrates me, at least they got one thing right. They re-railed Optimus Prime's character. After years of being stuck with homicidal Prime, we finally got an Optimus who feels more like his television and pre-Dark of the Moon interpretations. Mirage is a decent and non-annoying character despite his obvious potential to be one. And one thing I didn't mention in my review is that I liked the fact that they had the courage to take Bumblebee out of the majority of the film so that other characters could shine. But fuck this design and interpretation of Wheeljack. I don't know what the fuck you guys were thinking. This is an E tier. Oh my god, this was a slog. The Flash, a movie about a guy I don't like starring a mad goose wizard I don't like. The Flash is a paradoxically expensive movie when a lot of the aspects about it feel cheap. They had the money to recreate all these actors in CGI, but not enough to make it look good. Some of the actors were actually alive and available to be in the movie, so why even recreate them using CGI? The rules they set up for many of the film's aspects are inconsistent, such as moving people that don't have the Speed Force. They established that it'll cause people to vomit violently, but Barry moved a bunch of babies and a nurse using the Speed Force, so why didn't they throw up? And how come nobody moved by the Speed Force in Justice League threw up either? Did everyone forget how to make a shared universe this year or what? There's one scene towards the end of the film that's pretty good, but that's not enough to salvage this movie. My review is available if you'd like to hear more, but this is a smooth F tier. John Wick Chapter 4 was okay. Mind you, I haven't seen the first John Wick, but I have seen all the other ones. I absolutely hated John Wick 3 solely for the fight scenes, where everyone in the fight pauses so Wick can reload his pistol. Yes, we get it. Some movies don't show the characters reload, but this is not the answer. The fight scenes in Chapter 4, however, are better paced and don't overstay their welcome. They placed breaks in them to allow the audience to breathe. There's still some derpy choreography, such as the part where this lady climbs up a guy's back using daggers when she could just stab him in the neck. But the John Wick character is stronger in this film than he was in Chapter 3. Which really ain't saying much because he's not much of a character. It's clear in this film that he does have an end goal. The killing does stop once he's reached his goal, and once he has achieved that goal, he seemingly dies. He didn't care about living as a free man, he wanted to die as a free man. Kane is also a cool character played by Donnie Yen, but other than that, there isn't much depth in this film. C tier. Finally, a good film. Sound of Freedom was a breath of fresh air. Not literally, because this film was oppressive in its subject matter. The subject matter is depicted respectfully and doesn't rely on shocking imagery or graphic content to get its message across. There's an excellent example where Tim Ballard is looking over evidence after a recent sting operation. When he opens the file, we get a close-up of his eye and a single tear falls down his cheek. We know what he's looking at. We don't need to see anything else to know that what he's looking at is heartbreaking and messed up. The character work isn't too in-depth, mainly because these characters are based on real people, and real people don't change as dramatically and quickly as fictional characters do. But there are some standout moments, such as Vampiro's backstory, that add layers to the characters. This was also the only movie I saw this year that had a packed theater. Says a lot, doesn't it? Given the subject matter though, it makes rewatches a hard ask, but it's a film I did not regret watching. This is going in A tier. Oh man, this bummed me out. Everything about this film aged like milk for me. As you may have heard in my Movies Are Too Long video, I initially enjoyed this movie, but the more I thought about it, the more I soured on one aspect of it. Ilsa Faust was done so fucking dirty in this movie. She barely gets any screen time in this film and then gets killed off so they can focus on her replacement, Grace. Grace is not Ilsa. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. She's far too formidable to be felled by this random guy that we just met. What, we're supposed to accept that Gabriel can kill Ilsa just because he killed another female character in the past? Bullshit. She killed the Bone Doctor in Rogue Nation, and he was almost twice the size of Gabriel. But because some stinky AI says she's supposed to die, the movie just accepts it. And speaking of that AI breaks the entire movie. Watch EFAP's coverage on this film for more on this, but none of it makes sense when you realize how overpowered this AI is. It quickly becomes a game of,
Oh, I don't think I'm a lot dumber than you thought that I thought I was once.
And then, when Ethan wins, it makes the AI look dumb as fuck and it breaks the whole movie because it was supposed to see it coming. At least the action scenes are entertaining. At first. Sometimes the action scenes kind of drag on for a little too long and can feel bloated and long-winded. However, the production quality is unmatched, so that's a positive. With all that being said, D tier. I have a whole video on this one that covers most, if not all, of my qualms with this movie, so I'll be brief. This movie sucks, it's not scary, and it doesn't take advantage of the vast lore like it should. Characters are lame at best and confusing as fuck at worst. E tier. I almost want to give this an S tier simply for giving me so much to talk about. This movie gets worse the more you think about it. In my review, I covered a lot, but more things have come to mind after making that video. Danny Phantom can suddenly just go invisible. Kamala's family has no reason to be on the Saber Station. Darth Ben specifically needed both bangles because using one was too unstable. The moment she uses both, it kills her. The Kree choose to land and warn Alatna that they're taking the water when they could have just taken it. Nick Fury tells the Annihilator not to intervene on Tarnax, but she does anyway and gets a bunch of Skrulls killed. Great character, by the way. Paragon of our fucking people, man. The Prince has combat fatigues for each of the Marvels ready to go on tap. Danny Phantom has no reason to close the rift in space-time from the other side. Kamala, a 16-year-old girl, punches a grown man in the face with a regular punch and knocks him out. Okay, film, sure thing. The lesson/theme of this movie is all fucked up because Carol would actually be better off without a team holding her back and getting into danger. She's basically a god and could have Mr. Manhattaned Darth Ben at any moment if it wasn't for the stupid swapping gimmick. Yeah, this film is an F tier, but in the bestest of ways. S tier, go see it. spider mid across the spider slop. These last 3 movies have never been discussed on my channel, so I'm gonna get a little bit more detailed here. This movie was kind of a mess as well. I didn't see it until recently, but the whole canon event thing does not sit well with me. Arguably, any Spider-Man that would allow an innocent person to die when they had the power to save them is no true Spider-Man. Miguel is asking Miles to potentially let his father die because he has a hypothesis that usurping specific moments in time causes multiversal collapses, all because he tried to live out a life that was never meant for him in the first place. He never states that he did any experiments on canon events. He never says that he tried to fix a disrupted canon event, and he never so much as explains how he tried to find a solution to these conundrums. And if Miles himself is the first anomaly, wouldn't it have been a disrupted canon event when the Peter in his universe died? Or when he got bit by Earth 42 Spider? The fact that Miles getting bit didn't cause a multiversal collapse means it was a canon event, right? How come Miles saving the Inspector in Moonbatten only created this containable hole, but Miguel replacing his dead variant erased the universe in one sweeping wave? It's implied Miguel founded the Spider Society before he replaced his dead variant because Peter B was there when the universe collapsed. So what happened here? And what if the canon event is that the captain in that universe doesn't die, and you letting him die disrupts the canon? You know what all this is, right? It's the sacred timeline bullshit again, but with extra steps. It removes all free will from the characters by explaining that everything they do is on a set course and cannot be altered. Also, they ruined my favorite character in the first movie. Gwen starts the movie as this bitchy teenager who is nothing like her depiction in Into the Spider-Verse. She then joins the Spider Society and torches the trust Miles had in her as a friend by siding with Miguel on a "because I know, okay?" She's also frustratingly non-communicative. If she would just open her fucking mouth half of the time, some of these problems wouldn't have happened. Hobby is a cringy political mouthpiece whose presence made me groan constantly. Capitalism this, establishment that. Shut the fuck up. You don't even know what's coming out of your mouth. You're just saying shit. Pretentious wannabe try-hard rebel bullshit. You're not a fucking rebel. You're saying the popular opinions to have. He's not the only character that does this on this list, by the way. And we get not one, but 2 shitty parents who think it's a good idea to bring their kids into dangerous fights and chases. A pregnant mom and an emasculated dad. You're both fucking idiot parents and your children should be seized by CPS. The art style gets hard on the eyes at some points, especially in Gwen's home universe. And the runtime is bloated and gets long in the tooth towards the end. Some of the jokes are tired and some of them are just weird. Why are we making Uncle Ben's death a joke? And how long are you guys going to reference the Spider-Man pointing meme? Yes, we are aware that the people at Sony have access to the internet just like the rest of us. Please stop using this meme. The character work here is surprisingly shallow as well. Most of the characters don't get much development, and some of the characters make really baffling decisions. Gwen's dad finds out his daughter is Spider-Girl and he aims a gun at her. He doesn't ask questions, he doesn't have a crisis of faith, he just looks sad and aims his pistol at her and tries to arrest her. All so we could get Gwen to join the Spider Society. Dads they just don't work this way. Well, at least the good dads. And that's what this movie is trying to say about Gwen's dad, is that he's a good dad. As much as this movie pissed me off, I have to give it decent marks for giving Miles a decent character and some good jokes. It has some consistent and logical writing as well. The twist at the end makes sense in all honesty. It pains me to say this, but it's a better film than Rise of the Beasts. D tier. This movie is terrible, but I kind of enjoyed it. The best part of this movie is easily Ken. He is hilarious, full of depth, and is the only character in the film to have an arc of some kind. He goes from a fumbling simp with no self-respect to someone who knows what it feels like to be respected and doesn't want to go back to a world where he is not respected, to someone who learns that he must respect himself and be his own person first. Quite a nice little arc there. There's a lot of comedy in this movie, and most of the stuff I laughed at was unintentionally funny. It says a lot that I can't remember any of the things I laughed at, though. Will Ferrell had some funny moments as well, though. I laughed out loud when he brazenly calls Barbie a Jezebel to her face. It's so cartoonishly bigoted that I couldn't help but laugh. There's also an insane amount of shots of Margot Robbie's feet in this movie. You Margot Foot fans are gonna enjoy this movie. Isabella, cut that part out, please. However, I think this movie utterly fails its female characters. Barbie is a character who walks around the film without a concrete goal. She's just told to find the girl that's playing with you. And do what exactly? She ends the film wanting to be a real woman for some reason, and the film doesn't really explain why. Especially after that patronizing speech the mom gives us about how it sucks to be a woman. If being a woman sucks so bad, why would anyone voluntarily choose to be a real one when they could remain as this idealistic version? Speaking of that speech, it is a terrible, transparently political, and painfully ideological speech that makes no sense. The mom womansplains to Barbie and the audience about how hard it is to be a woman, but when you really break down what she says here, it ends up falling apart because you quickly realize that everything she's complaining about is either A, something everyone has to deal with regardless of gender, or B, a standard placed upon women by women themselves. For example, she says that you have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. Those are not mutually exclusive and not gender specific. If you think they are, you're a bad boss. She also says that you have to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the time. That is also not mutually exclusive. I love my dog. I don't talk about her all the time. Easy, done. And perplexingly, she says you have to be a career woman, but you always have to be looking out for other people. Bitch, that is something women inflicted upon themselves. Nobody told you to get a job and stress yourself out. Women tell themselves to not be stay-at-home moms and not work for a man. And the daughter is such an insufferable Isabella has advised me not to use that word in a video shorter than an hour. This character is the reason why you need to stick the landing when it comes to character establishing introductions. The daughter is this unnecessarily bitchy teenager who has no real reason to be this ornery. She's easily the worst character in this movie. At first, I thought she was upset because her dad left or died and she missed him like Charlie from the Bumblebee movie. But nope. He's just being a bumbling stay-at-home dad trying to learn new languages through Duolingo. If anything, this girl should be the happiest feminist in the world because of it. Her mom is being a good role model by working at Mattel and being a career woman, and her dad is staying in his place at home. But nope, she's just a jerk to everyone she speaks to, even her own mother. Part of that speech her mom gives feels like a tired mom frustrated because her daughter is such a brat. There's also her introductory scene where Barbie introduces herself and the teenager just starts vomiting every political buzzword ever used. She calls Barbie a fascist. That doesn't even make sense when you know what the definition of fascist is. No wonder the mother is thinking about death. I wouldn't be able to live with this ignorant, pretentious bucket of shit. The most insulting part is that the movie portrays this girl's actions and behaviors as valid and not worth commendation or criticism. This chick is driving her mother to self-deletion and the movie acts as if this is fine. Barbie is also a masterclass on how not to write world building. The setup is that there's Barbie world and the real world. Okay, sounds good. The real girls play with Barbies and this affects the Barbies in the Barbie world. Not great, but okay. When one of the real girls is in turmoil, plays with their Barbie roughly, or starts to have darker thoughts, this ends up affecting their respective Barbie. Okay, now wait a minute. What happens to the Barbies when their kid gets older and has more complex thoughts? Do Barbies die? Do Barbies age? And are the Kens being played with girls too? Do they experience the same issues when their kid has complicated emotions? When the girls stop playing with the Barbies, do the Barbies just not wake up in Barbie world? Barbie alludes to how she was born when she says that she hasn't been in a box in a long time. This makes everything even worse. If Barbies don't die or have no clue about the concept of death, does this mean that Barbie World has new residents just dropped in every day when a girl purchases a Barbie and opens the box? And when the Kens take over Barbie World using the patriarchy, the Ken dolls in the real world start selling like hotcakes. They influence each other and it's not a one-way thing? How? How does any of this work? What the fuck is happening? And what is the deal with the real world? What is the film trying to say? It pretends as if we don't live in the most gynocentric time in all of Western history. Why are the people in the real world just as cartoony as the people in Barbie World? There's even a character that lampshades what I'm saying here. I know I'm playing with fire after my Godzilla video debacle with WB, but I want you to hear this.
I'll take a high-level, high-paying job with influence, please.
Okay, you'll need at least an MBA, and a lot of our people have PhDs.
Isn't being a man enough?
Actually, right now, it's kind of the opposite.
You guys are clearly not doing patriarchy very well.
No, no, we're doing it well. Yeah, we just hide it better now.
Oh.
Why even put this joke in the movie? It undermines your entire point about women being oppressed in the real world. Then at the end of the movie, President Barbie says that the Kens in Barbie World can't have rights and representation until the women in the real world do, coming from the same hack writers who probably used this quote unironically. It's kind of rich and ironic that the best part of a women's film about women's experiences and feminism is the men. This is the most political I've gotten on this channel, and I don't like it. For making me get this political, Barbie gets an F tier. Well, F+, because Ryan Gosling and Will Ferrell had me dying of laughter. I don't really know how to feel about this film. It's an interesting drama with political intrigue and drama. The acting is outstanding, the cinematography is gorgeous, and the practical effects are stunning. But I'm just not feeling this movie, dude. It's not badly written, it's not poorly shot, it just doesn't do anything for me. This is the epitome of objective versus subjective. I can acknowledge the talent and skill on display here, but I personally just don't like it. It's much like Dunkirk. These movies are very great plot-driven films. They focus more on the development of events rather than the development of the characters, and plot-driven films are not my cup of tea. So for this entry, I'll just explain what I subjectively liked and didn't like. I like the way Nolan captured the aura of the 1940s and 50s. You can feel the post-20s energy in everyone's speech. World War II and the era it was in was such a fascinating time in world history. You know the meme, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? For me, the question would be, how often do you think about World War II? And the answer is at least twice a day. The scene with Oppenheimer admitting that he cheated on his wife with Jean was something else. The imagery of her wrapping her naked body around him was trippy and memorable. You can tell that this is something that weighs heavily on Kitty's heart because she can still see that woman on her husband even though she's dead. The symbolism was neat too. The choice to depict Oppenheimer naked while he lays his truths bare was poignant and really got the point across well. I like the twist that Strauss was the one who set Oppenheimer up in the end. I also like the revelation that Strauss tried to get Oppenheimer burned over something that had nothing to do with him. Einstein was disturbed by Oppenheimer's words about destroying the world. He wasn't pissed at Strauss. The music was very good as well. Can't really comment more on it besides that. Now, on to what I didn't like. I hate sex scenes. Hate them with a passion. They're so awkward and, in my opinion, unnecessary. When I heard there was a sex scene in this film, it ended up being one of two reasons why I never saw it in theaters. Most of the time, sex scenes can be altered or outright omitted, and the movie will stay the same. You will never see me write a sex scene in anything I make. My signature move when it comes to sex scenes is to either cut the scene right before the characters start, or start the scene right after they finish. I just hate them so fucking badly, dude. Next, I found the way the story unfolded to be unnecessarily clunky and confusing. There's a part that bounces between the past, the further past, then the quote-unquote present, and I was just left scratching my head for a few seconds until I could catch up to what the film was trying to explain to me. I also found some of the moments in the film to feel a little pretentious. Just a tiny bit. It kind of has that artsy-fartsy, look at how avant-garde I am feel to it, you know? But in the end, the quality of the film cannot be denied. I'm putting this in A tier. Thank God I watched this at home. This shit was long as hell. Now, the winners of our 2 awards for the evening. Best Film of the Year and Worst Film of the Year. Presented by Rise.
Ugh, this accursed suit is suffocating. Tonight's winner of the Best Film of the Year goes to... Godzilla Minus One. I agree. Exceptional showing, Toho. What do you have to say to the audience, Mr. Godzilla? That was very loud. And next we have the worst film of the year. Drum roll, please. The worst film of the year is The Marvels. Any words for the audience?
Fucking kill me.
I wish I could, you disgusting, foul beast of suffering, but we just cleaned the carpets. Back to you, Alistair. I'm taking this goddamn suit off.
Well, thank you for the assist, Rise. 2023 has been a rough year for films, but it's been a fantastic one for me thanks to you guys. Thank you all for making 2023 a year for me to remember. Here's to an all-new, all-cool 2024. See you next year. Oh shit, that's tomorrow, isn't it? Oh yeah. That's that good stuff right there. I like that.